So I was just told recently that my grandmother died on my birthday. Okay, I'm around 40 years old now. So let me tell you a little stuff about my life story. Okay, when I was young, I was harassed because my dad had come here, had came to America around the time that Martin Luther King was assassinated in the late 60s. As a refugee during the Nigerian Civil War, he worked his way up to being a doctor. By the time I was born, he was a doctor. We lived in kind of a cheaper house at some point, okay, and then we moved into an expensive house with a swimming pool and so on and so forth in an area where a lot of white people lived and so on and so forth. The neighbors kind of were withdrawn. Some of them were rowdy, they were withdrawn. And there was my godfather was an Italian guy, okay, and he passed away a while back. It's been some time, okay. And I'm not making that up. I'm not making any of this stuff up. It's just a little. The story. It's very interesting. Okay, so over time, I was harassed and provoked by various groups of people, with the emphasis to try to get me to develop a kind of resentment for those groups of people. They say, hey, you don't. My grandmother, my mom's side died, by the way. Say you don't like these people and you're racist. They're trying to make it so that my life. However, everyone's doing something wrong on this planet, but me and my parents. And it's a long story why that is. I talk about it in my videos. If you've been watching my videos a lot, you know my argument and you know it's right. Okay. All right. So I went to different schools. Different people were giving me a hard time. You can say because I'm different, but it's more than that. They were specifically raised to not like someone like me. Say this black guy is showing you up, right? Whether it's the sports, okay, and mathematics and so on and so forth. They said suppress this guy. Remember when Martin Luther King was assassinated, those COINTELPRO and all this stuff was going on. The Black Panthers, all these kind of social groups, these kind of political groups. And, it was like the Weathermen movement and Native American, American Indian movement, and so on and so forth. Okay, and those massive government programs, the Ghetto Informant Program, thousands of informants meant to suppress these people. So there's all kinds of groups and cults and social clubs and fraternities that are concerned with the social order and the culture, and they want to maintain their sexual control, the pecking order, the picking order. So they were picking on me to the best of their ability, but I'm a big guy, so I was wrestling. I wrestled a whole lot of guys when I was little. I wrestled them down to the ground, and at some point I became more assertive as a result of people always messing with me. So I'm like the first sign, and I just rush them and kind of on the playground and wrestle them down. Okay, so these guys were getting mad. Their parents were telling them, well, punch them in the stomach. And I would get in a whole lot of trouble if I punched anyone in the stomach. So they're maybe using technology that they had as a result of MK Ultra and other stuff. I don't know. These kids were acting like they're demons at times. And a lot of times they act normal and they had their moments. They act like super snitches. They act like demons. They act in a way that was out of the ordinary for kids. Now, a lot of kids are emotional and so on and so forth. But these guys were like the children of the corn at times, which suggested their brain was hacked or they're from some kind of cult group. If I had to guess, with the technologies they have now and how long they've been working on them, that they, to a certain degree, have the ability to hack the brain then. Okay? So they provoked me, and they put women there to break my heart, or they were hacking them. I don't know what they were doing. There was people that were telling me, you probably won't believe me, and things like this. And those people saying, we're not supposed to talk to you, we're not supposed to help you. There's things like that going on along the way. I scored the top 1 percentile in the SSAT. I got into a prestigious boarding school. Eventually I dropped out, because I don't learn the same way as everyone else. But at times I pick up on things. It's a bit complicated, okay? And, kind of African has an oral tradition. The West has a written tradition. Their teaching style doesn't work for all Africans, but some Africans are more related to them, or some, and they score better. My dad and my mom both, all A students and so on and so forth, okay? So it gets complicated. So how they A students and they learn that way and you don't? Okay, it has to do with gene expression. The hero, Horus, is not the same as thought, right? These are gene expressions, cults, religions, cultivative cycles, embracing certain personality traits, certain characteristics, and so on and so forth. Okay, as Martin Luther King said, judge people by the content of the character. The heart of Horus is greater than the intelligence of thought. And the wisdom to be morally precise is greater than book smarts. You see what I'm saying? And this is part of what they don't want you to see. That's why they're called intelligence agencies. They want to put the rich guy first to make him seem ideal, then the nerd, and then other people in a certain order that reflects what they want to see in society. Social engineering, okay, biology and demographics, biodemography, social Darwinism, scientific racism, what have you. So they persecuted me to create resentment, to try to get me to behave in a way that was similar to African Americans, and they went the distance to try to get me to smoke weed and drink and do things that were self-destructive, smoke cigarettes, and I dabbled in those things to some degree, okay? And it did take a toll on my brain to some degree, okay, and my lungs and so on and so forth. They didn't want me to be a famous athlete, famous basketball player, famous martial arts. They didn't want any of this. They wanted their families, and we see right now a kind of social engineering on steroids. We see weirdos who suck at things like music and sports, and they're the famous musicians and sports artists, sports players, and so on and so forth. And all the martial arts, some clown ass stuff. We see that now, right? We see the UFC having come out as popular, and it's a bunch of clown ass people dressed like homosexuals or something, and so on and so forth. Now, Nigeria, it's important to note, is the least accepting place of homosexuality on the planet historically. Less accepting than Saudi Arabia. Okay, there's people in Saudi Arabia that are more liberal. Okay, sometimes they protest and get locked up and it's all in the news and so on. In Nigeria, the North and the South didn't agree on much as the story goes, but they agreed that homosexuality is not becoming a very masculine, serious-faced Nigerian man, okay, who are seen as controlling and hyper-masculine by the West. Of the African genome in America, the most hyper-masculine is Nigerian, basically, right? And Igbo is one of the most common, probably the most common Nigerian genes in the Nigerian, in the African-American genome. So it's Martin Luther King, and whose tribe is who? So the king of the Igbo tribe, is most expressed in me, because the idea, if not my great-grandfather the king, okay, because of the heart and the desire for heroism and the desire to marshal things. Those who assimilate to the system as masons and boule and military and cops and intelligence agencies and teachers, they're not expressing this royal kind of lethal grace for authority that was described in the book Fighting for Honor. It says the leopard has a lethal grace for authority. He doesn't say, hey, I'm just going to do it the enemy's way and accept the enemy's spirit. He rejects that. So as they look around, they said, this kid right here is showing the early signs of a lethal grace for authority. So they deal in prevention and early identification, okay? And then they misdirection and psyops and so on and so forth. And that is big time what's going on here. Consider the time frame. I was born in the 80s, like a little over a decade after Martin Luther King was assassinated. My dad had come here when Martin Luther King was assassinated. I'm his namesake. You consider everything. There's no other way it can be. My dad's a brain surgeon, okay? And he's like a forerunner in many ways of black brain surgeons, because there wasn't many of them before him. And he came here as a refugee and worked his way up, and he's the most moral. When you look at brain surgeons, you see a bunch of guys look like scientists or some nerds and so on. And you see this guy who looks very divine historically. They'll probably edit his pictures, confuse him. So this guy looks divine and righteous, and they just look like scientists. So you say, why is this? Who is this guy? Who is his son? Okay, and as they're trying to prevent the rise of a black messiah, okay, you think they're looking at the most righteous person of his generation, and they're like, ignore him. That's fucking retarded, right? They're going to persecute him, and they're going to persecute his children, okay, and try to make sure that they don't rise above. So there's a bunch of black Freemasons that they're training to be jealous and to say, no, he's no better than us, right, kind of people. There's a bunch of short people, the little man complex, right? They're like the Jews and the short white people, and they all kind of get together in their clubs. There's a bunch of tall British guys. They to some degree, they break down in terms of body type. It's like craftsmen and football linemen and so on and so forth, cops and firemen. They have their little groups. You have the short guy little groups. You have the tall guy groups. Okay, you have groups that are concerned with controlling the arts and then the science groups. You have martial art groups. There's a bunch of groups that are social clubs and social controllers, and they work with corporations and the state. Okay, so over the course of this time, family members are dying. Remember, I just found out probably less than an hour ago, probably 30 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, that my grandmother died on my birthday. Now, they had persecuted me, significant events. They persecuted me on my brother's birthday one day and detained me for no reason, without cause. I proved that definitively. Okay, there's witnesses and everything, it's proven. Okay, and paperwork and everything. They persecuted me on the anniversary. I think it was the first anniversary of my uncle's death. Okay, and family members died in a way that first they told me, hey, these guys are going to die, and then they died. Okay, now you see me crying and say, why? No, because people die anyway. Okay, it is stupid to say, well, what if they persecute us? You know, what about you people who are military families? What if you die in war fighting for the most corrupt country that ever lived, that has the nerve to persecute the Son of God when he comes back? What if your family members die? What if they don't die doing that? What if you hardly get punished? What if you enjoy your lives? All paths lead to your fucking idiots. So why the fuck should I be moved? You see what I'm saying? Stupid. Blessed is he who's persecuted for righteousness' sake. They're just elevating me more above them. If the righteous man is persecuted more, and you're sinking lower with the state, sucking a fucking cat man up type of dick, a man has to be able to stand on his own 10 toes, and no matter what they tell you, they help us rape kids, you do it. They say, help us bring in the New World Order, you do. Just keep sinking, we're on board, and you define yourselves and your families as complete, despicable, sniveling cowards. That is a fate far worse than death. To truly be that in the souls of one's family is far worse than every one of your family members tortured to death over a long period of time. But you people don't have that wisdom. That's why the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. It's the beginning of knowledge. Okay? The wisdom's instruction is to fear the Lord, right? Proverbs. But you people don't get that. You have countless churches that talk about Proverbs, but none of them live them. You don't fear God. You fear what will happen if you don't listen to pedophiles and homosexuals and feminists and racists, knuckleheads, ruffians who are book smart, when their own books define the nerd as foolish and contemptible. Think about it. They persecuted me all my life with an emphasis on trying to make me kind of hateful. Okay? And you see my videos, you see righteous indignation. They probably changed it in my older videos going back 5 years or 6 years ago. You know, back in 2015, 16, before in 2017 or so, when they fueled me so much I went blind for like a day or two or something like that. And then my eyesight started coming back. And they said it was migraines or something. They blamed all kinds of dumb shit. I was literally blind. I couldn't see. Okay? And then, you know, I started needing these glasses, these special glasses. Okay? Go to the optometrist and all this stuff. You see what I'm saying? They fumed me. It was heavily fumed. My girlfriend at the time, she was having throat problems too. You know what I'm saying? They put something in the weed and they fumed me. Now, the something they put in the weed was like remotely controlled because I went to the dispensary. Okay? And so on and so forth. Now, at this point, when people study marijuana, say he's just a pot, he's fucking retarded. Even if I was just a pothead, how much more smarter than you naturally am I if I'm a fucking pothead doing the right thing because out of wisdom, and you're not. And you're not a pothead. How much more superior are my genes? So no matter what all path we get, I'm superior and they're covering up. We get that I'm the natural alpha and they're covering it up. You know, in December, December 20 will be exactly 8 years, my top martial arts challenge. $4 million I'm compensated, allowed to recover. $40,000 if they can win, and I'm allowed to recover and I'm not compensated. $50 just to show you pay nothing if you lose. Okay? I have triumphed. You know, if every one of my family members died today, I probably wouldn't even cry. Okay? I have triumphed. I have achieved, I more than just believe, I've achieved a state of mind where God is all that matters. God set the situation to where if you obey him, you have every reason to be proud. Paul said, boast in the Lord. He didn't say don't boast. He said boast in the Lord. What did I achieve? Did I win the Olympics? Fuck the Olympics. Did I get a PhD? Fuck a PhD. You know what I'm saying? Did I get some ditzy ass slut in a nice sports car? Fuck those bitch ass motherfuckers that get that shit. I'm loyal to God. And I'm the top martial artist ever. Fuck every other achievement when it's compared to that. Think about it.